October the 10th, 2025. Guys, this weather is so wonderful here in central Mississippi. We woke up at about 60 degrees this morning. You just can't get much better than this. We got rain a few days ago, knocked some of the dust down, helped the grass a little bit, and now it's getting cooler, but it should. We're 10th of October. Now, it's one of the interesting things I've noticed since I was very young was we would, here in central Mississippi, we would usually end up running a little bit of air conditioning until about Halloween right in that area, so we're still about 20 days away from that. The reason I mention it is the seasons are changing. So we got another tropical storm out in the Atlantic off the East Coast turning right back towards Africa again, so things are definitely off. Now what we're looking at is not a new image to you, but I've reran this thing through my computer, and for two reasons. One, I'm seeing quite a bit of I don't know if it's disinfo, but really hyped info out there, and I don't know if it's a distraction or not. And there's one video, I actually have a copy of that video, to where it's one of the guys, maybe in England, whatever. But anyway, he's got telescopes and stuff like that, and he's showing a flipping object coming down from the right to the left across the screen. I captured some images of that. Most of you have seen it, but something's just a little bit off about it. It may have been that it was so heavily manipulated around the edges of the comet, blacked out in other areas, and then highlighted right at the sections to where it's super pixelated. Not sure, but there's going to be some distractions. Now, there are beautiful comets out there, all in the solar system right now. We've seen, you got different atlases, you got different swans, and they're real comets. You can see them, and they are quite a show. Now, if you go to spaceweather.com on our website, which is bpearthwatch.com, scroll down to the links to the left, you'll see Space Weather. Click there, and then they've got Space Weather photos and images, and just look at the beautiful images from the different real comets. Now, we're going to go back to one of the first images that I took. I didn't take the image, I took it and put it into my computer, and we looked at it. It looked like we were getting pretty good Hubble images, or James Webb, I can't remember right now. We're going to look at it though. But really good images of a few objects inside of that grouping. Now, the more I look at this one from the last video, guys, it's not a comet. You've got these stars, and it looks like you've got about 6 exposures in these time lapses here. And what that does is give you, these are a lapse in the movement, but this is the object right here in the circles. And it's about 6 different shutter events happening to get these blurs, and some people are showing some of these blurs as atlas, like a TikTok, and all. It's nonsense. That's not what it is at all. But this one right here continues to get my attention. Let me pull this thing up a little bit. And what we're seeing, and I'll back it back down a little smaller, is when I went through this imaging and started taking out different parts of it, and that's what you're seeing here, guys, is the fact that the entire area is affected. I didn't try to just affect the area in the circle. What I wanted to do was tone down some stuff, and if I did, then it toned down the entire image, not this circle section, okay, just to make that clear. And I wanted to bring out what we're seeing here now. Let me bring that back up. And guys, I've seen so many asteroids over the years. This is a grouping. I'm not saying it is asteroids. I mentioned, could this be a fleet of something? Let's get it just a little bit closer. Just bear with me a moment. Look at this. This is multiple objects. We've seen it in different comets going back to ISON. And if you remember the image, again, from the James Webb, I think, telescope, which is an outer space telescope, then it looked like multiple objects then. But I think with what we're seeing, the light that we're getting from there, if it is a group of rocks, they would not be glowing. So what is it? I'm not trying to hype anything. I want to know what this is. And I'm going to bring it up just a little bit closer. And it's really hard to tell what it is, but it's there, and this was taken from above Mars as the cameras were turned up to see it as it came by. And this was what, October 2nd or 3rd, somewhere right in there, and there really hasn't been a decent image since that point, regardless of what you're seeing on the internet. You can go back and check. And it's going to be starting to get clear again in December. We may get a few shots before that. But guys, this is a group of objects. And as Avi Loeb pointed out, it was a very close ecliptic orbit, moving close to the ecliptics of everything in the inner solar system, of the orbits of the planets, and things like that. It has accelerated somewhat in speed. But let me back it back out. Again, and I think that really is a better perspective here, guys, because again, as I was toning down the brightness in certain areas, in the entire image, it wasn't affecting certain areas. I just want to point that out. So this was not highlighted to be pixelated out or shown. If it got darker, the entire image did. Or if it got lighter or filtered, the entire image did. It wasn't a focus. So, guys, I think we have a group of objects coming in. Is it well, my Huskies think so too. They think it's a group of objects. Anyway, or is it a fleet? We know there's going to be a return. Every religion and every society, every civilization on the planet says that in the beginning, a lot of them say they're creators, including Christians. We talk about our Father in heaven created us, his children. And every civilization talks about a return. Now we're seeing a lot of chaos, and that brings up a good question. And this is an inverted image of that as I continue, guys. And notice the dark spots concentrated in this area. You see them scattered out through the entire image. You see the stars and things like that. They're in that 6 exposure level. People calling it TikTok. It's nonsense. Anyway, there's a lot of objects right here. I would say it would be an asteroid storm if it was not glowing. Now, just solid rocks, I've mentioned this before, like big asteroids, you will get a reflection from the sun as the sunny side of the asteroid reflects off the sun as it's rotating or spinning through space. This is a continuous light. Now, this is, again, not the clearest picture, but I think of over all the nonsense that we're seeing out there, it's the most important because it has not been doctored except to focus in on that circle. Sometimes that's necessary. But guys, why is it important now? A lot of things are happening on the planet. Are chaos, wars and rumors of wars, peace, sudden destruction, things like that are going on. And in the video the other day, I talked about it. And guys, you should really do some homework and come into the comments and let me know what you find. But look at all the civilizations over time that had 9, I guess you would call it demigods, maybe half human, half God, whatever you want to call them, Anunnaki, whatever. There was 9 leaders in almost every civilization. Now, here, to me, that's unique enough. But when you think about it, you had Greeks and then Romans. Let's just focus on those 2 groups for a while. Their gods, or group of gods, or lesser gods, were basically the same, just with a different name, right? Some of the same characteristics. And that goes back to China. It goes to everywhere. Every civilization has this. And really, one the oldest just about is Australia. The native people there, the Aborigines, they know more about the sky gods than I think anybody at NASA does. Anyway, going back to Greek and Rome, same group. The Greeks went out of sight, then the same group emerged as Roman gods. But another homework project would be a good study. How long in between the ending of the talking about the Greek gods before the beginning of the talking and the rise of the Roman gods. Okay? That time span in there could be very important. Now, we talked about the Black Knight satellite. There are actually NASA images from the space shuttle and other satellites of that thing being there. And in the book we were talking about that was originally part of the Old Testament, they talked about the guardian of the earth, this big craft. Now, did these 9, and I believe it because every civilization going back to the Aborigines through China and up to modern times has these 9 entities. And I think there's the creator of all above them. And it was almost as if that group was assigned to the earth to watch it. Maybe it wasn't the only planet, but they definitely were there, and to control it, to manipulate it. Just like Enlil and the Enki. One didn't like the people, one did. Okay? We're still seeing it. You're seeing it in the Middle East. You're seeing it in the streets of Portland, Chicago. Good versus evil. But anyway, what is the timeline we're in now? In other words, what was the gap between the disappearance of the Greek gods and the reappearance of the Roman gods? Because we don't see them now. And it brings up another point. Why is there so much interest in what's under the Antarctic? And there's all the stories talk about, even, what was it, Obama's group, and some of them went down there, and no one wants to talk about it. Who is down there? Even going back to Admiral Byrd, they talked about craft coming out as they were going down there, supposedly following the Germans at the end of World War II. What did they find down there? We know there's people that are over the massive civilizations of the planet, and they're there in history. Now, where are we at in those cycles? Because going back to ancient Australia, then into China and India, and the oldest stuff, the Anunnakis, these 9 people were there. There's statues of them. There's books about them. And in the book of Baruch that we talked about the other day, it talks about the guardian of earth, the craft. And you think about it, when whatever returns, or however things happen, we know there's going to be a false return and then the real return of Christ. We're not floating off somewhere. They're coming here. Remember, read the Bible. Think about it. Don't listen to the nonsense that embarrassed half of YouTube a few weeks ago. So where are we at? What are we seeing here? Will this just pass by and nothing else be said about it? I don't know. But we've never seen anything like this. This is not a single object like Oumuamua. Remember that rock? This thing is a lot bigger, and I think the reason they think it's a lot bigger is it's because it's so many objects, guys. And I want to go back and, again, look at one of the first images that I kind of filtered and sent through AI of some of the very first images of Atlas. Guys, you remember this? And again, this was either Hubble or Webb, but I'll have to go back and look it up. Doesn't matter. Both of them are space telescopes. The Webb is supposed to be an upgrade from Hubble. Fancier mirrors and things like that. Fancier computers, which happens every time a new iPhone comes out. But to me, at that time, it looked like multiple objects. See, here, here, and here. Right in there. And then what we're looking at here is actually would be the front of the movement according to where they took this image. And it was just one image. We brought it up, but again, we had so much detail from it being a space telescope designed for this type of information that we could really take a good look at it. Now, we may get some more images similar to this after it passes around the sun in December. Maybe some of the telescopes will be ready to really zero in on this thing. And what will be interesting is what it looks like at that time. Will it still be as many objects? Avi Loeb talked about things like, guys, craft coming off or orbiters peeling off the main section. And again, it's not there may be a main craft or object within that group we were looking at. But this goes back, guys, to some of the space telescope images that we were really getting a good look at things, and then they kind of faded that out. You don't get those anymore. I'm not sure if it's positioning or whatever it is, but again, in this section, I can definitely see possibly 4 different objects, and the light is proceeding forward. This is the rear. That's the light proceeding forward there. But again, we're into some times that are, we're going to see a lot of height. And let me show you one of the pictures of what I think is definitely suspect. Now, this is the image that you see in some of the videos, guys. It comes down from this area, and you see that it kind of rotates, and you get different pixelated images as it moves down. I'm not saying it's not Atlas 3I, but the background's been so taken out and then the middle of it's so jacked up that you don't get a comparison of how the imaging here, the brightness and things like that, affect the back, because you can definitely, if you watch the video, you can see that each frame was stopped and this background was cleared. So I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'd like to see more images from this guy. I'm just not sure when they're going to come in. But guys, we're watching this. It's becoming more and more interesting to me. I've never said it would hit the Earth or any other planet, but I have said I want to know what it is. I've never seen anything like it. And to me, it's no longer, and I don't care who calls it a comet, they are, never mind what they're doing. It's not a comet. It's not an asteroid. It's a group of something that lights, that has a glow. And I think it's an ion drive, and the glow is coming from the group of objects and their glow. That's why we may never see another Hubble, there I go again, Hubble or Webb telescope image again of this object. Because if they were looking at it then, they probably have a lot of images we haven't seen. Some of the ones from Mars, I don't know if they still being processed or not, but coming around the sun will be very interesting. Now, it won't be at its closest approach then, and we may get a few shots of it between now and December, but we'll just have to wait and see. We'll watch what's coming in. Again, Space Weather will have some of it. NASA, James Webb, Hubble, those websites, we may get something in there. But going back to where I started this was the original video. Like I said, as I got it to where we could, and I could tell here, there were multiple objects concentrated right in this area. The more I looked at it since the last video, the more I'm very positive that's what we're seeing, a large group. Now, there's something very interesting in Job to me also. When our Father tells Job, you don't know what I have in store for the end times, hailstorms. He's talking about asteroids and rocks and comets and fire from the sky. You don't know what I have in store for the battle of that day. And we don't. But again, it's super interesting to me, and I'm going to flip back to the one that we didn't bring just the center up. We brought the entire picture up. And going back to this one again, just look at it. It looks like a cluster right there, doesn't it? It's not a solid one object. I was wondering when I first looked at it, was it just so pixelated that it was hard to make it out? But it's not. Look at the rest of the sky again. Every square in this was changed at the same time. There's no difference. One part wasn't edited out or anything like you saw with the white dots. This is what it saw, and this is a group of objects. We're watching it. Not sure what it is yet. Things are getting very interesting, guys. It's it's the Watchman's Creed to search out a matter. It's the honor of kings to search out a matter. It's the glory of God to hide it and make man search out the truth. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.